Now we've used the ash scraper to pull out the coals. Now we're going to swab it clean. Again, I have a burlap bag I've tied onto the end of a stick with a hose clamp. We just put it in here and we swab it from side to side. It is very hot in there. We'll get some more water. Here we go. The Brits that popped out were from right down in the front here, so it'll be easy to replace them once the oven cools down. People often ask how hot the oven is at this point, and for years I had no idea. Finally, a woman brought a laser thermometer, and we found out it was over 800 degrees. And that's what you want, because the oven uses saturated heat, the heat that soaks into the Brits. You want to overheat the oven, soaking as much heat as you can into the Brits. Now what we have to do, ironically, is wait for the oven to cool down. And that is a major trick that comes with experience, is to know at what point the oven is cooled off so that you can put the bread in there, bake it, and still have enough heat for the rest of the afternoon, because we have a full afternoon of baking ahead of us. And you want to have heat right through the end of the day. Now, of course, because it uses residual heat, the most heat is at the very beginning. So that determines your order of baking. What needs the most heat is baked first, and that is always the bread. You put the bread in first. It takes about an hour. At that point, because the oven is constantly losing heat, at that point the temperature has gone down to the point where you can put in pies and cakes without burning them. The cakes I usually put in for 45 minutes. The pies I usually put in for an hour and a half. Again, you want to open up the oven as little as possible. Every time you open the oven, you lose heat, and there's no way of putting it back. Once the heat is lost, it's gone. And that's going to shorten your bake day. Once the pies and cakes are finished, then you can put in cookies, which require the least amount of heat. Basically, you're at the end of your bake day with the cookies, but there's still something else you can do. Overnight, once the oven cools off below 212, below boiling point, you can put your dried fruits or vegetables in here. It has to be below 212. You don't want to cook the fruits and vegetables. You want to dry them out, so it has to be below 212. But you can do a half bushel at a time with an oven like this. It's quite a remarkable dryer. Also, it's a great turkey oven, or oven for baked beans, for example. If we were still eating turkey, if we weren't vegetarians, but when we were still eating turkeys, you would put your turkey dressed, stuffed, ready to go in a pan, coat it with some sort of vegetable oil, or we used to coat it with lard, but you can coat it with vegetable oil, the skin I mean. Put it to the back of the oven when you put your bread in and forget about it. It stays in all afternoon while you're doing the bread, while you're doing the cakes and pies, while you're doing the cookies. And at the very end of the day, after you bring out your last batch of cookies, that is when you bring out the turkey, and it's always perfection. You cannot beat it. You don't have to baste it or do anything. The temperature of the oven as it goes down provides the hot temperature, initial heat provides a crisp crust. As the temperature goes down, it soaks into the center of the bird through the stuffing and cooks it while keeping it moist. Again, it's a perfect turkey oven. However, our turkeys, which are now pets, walk by here and smile because they're not at all concerned about ending up in here. All right, the oven is cleaned out as good as it's going to get. We'll put the swab back on. I'll put the ash scraper back in. We're not even going to test the temperature yet because I know it is way, way too hot to bake. We're going to go back. We're going to finish the pie crust. We're going to bring up the rest of the bread. We're going to have Christian talk about his painting that I've been standing in front of this whole time. Our first religious painting here at the Hermitage. And then we'll continue with the rest of the afternoon.